Change of Heart. An Enemies to Lovers Love at First Kiss College Romance. Written by Susanna Thompson. Love at First Kiss. Narrated by Alyssa Avery. Chapter 1. Riley. I notice him a moment before he comes charging toward me. His blue eyes are blazing with fury, and I'm mesmerized by their intensity. My pulse jumps when he suddenly springs forward and comes straight for me. A thrill of anticipation shoots through me like a lightning bolt, and I feel fully alive for the first time. He doesn't stop until he is inches away from me, invading my personal space in a way that seems to demolish the invisible barrier between me and other people. Not even the few careful hugs I've gotten from my mother have been able to broach it. There is nothing careful about this boy's demeanor. He is glaring at me, and his tone is harsh and demanding.
"Where is Taylor?"
I stare at him uncomprehendingly before forming words. Who is Taylor? He growls, and his expression turns murderous.
"Quit with this amnesia bullshit."
I take a step back from him, but he advances and backs me up against the side of the stairway behind me. My heart pounds with awareness of his threatening size and strength. His arms cage me in as he presses his hands against the railing on either side of me, while he pins me with an intimidating stare. His voice has dropped in volume, though, when he speaks to me this time.
"Keep up your stupid act with everyone else. I don't care. But you better tell me where my sister is."
Your sister? I say breathlessly as I process his words. Taylor is your sister. He gives me a warning growl, and I shrink back from him. I don't know, I tell him pleadingly. I don't know her, or you, or anyone. I don't even know myself. I didn't know my own name until the nurses told me, or my parents until they told me who they were. I don't remember anyone. That last part is a complaint that reveals the frustration I've been concealing from everyone else. I couldn't complain to them, because they were all so nice and accommodating, and I didn't want to seem ungrateful. But this guy isn't nice. He's not treating me with that careful politeness and giving me fake smiles like all the other people who knew me before are. He's being real. Rude and antagonistic, but real. And that gives me my first opportunity to be real and honest with someone. Everyone is a stranger, I tell him, as he scrutinizes me with mistrust and suspicion. That's why I came here to be around actual strangers, so that it would make sense when everything was weird and awkward with them. Because the people who know me are all pretending to like me. I confide. Why are they doing that? I ask him, trusting him to give me a real answer. Because of the accident? Because they feel bad to tell me that they don't like me because I was injured? And why don't they like me? Was I not a nice person? He snorts.
"Not a nice person. What a cute understatement. And your accident? Nobody feels bad for you because of that. You should be in jail, especially since you almost killed someone this time. But Daddy made all your problems go away again. Did he tell you to fake memory loss too?"
My eyes go wide, and my chest tightens. The accident was my fault? Who did I almost kill? Oh my God, was it your sister? He growls and gets in my face.
"Where the hell is she?"
I feel all the blood drain from my face. Would I do that? I question in horror. Is that the kind of person I am? Would I cover up someone's injury to save myself? Where would I put her? I demand in a panic. You don't think that I would? The thought is too horrible to voice. Surely I wouldn't hide her body if she was killed in the crash. My father! I exclaim in a shrill voice. You said he bribes people for me? We need to ask him. I grab my phone out of my purse and frantically swipe at it to get to the contacts. Finding my father under Daddy, which usually makes me cringe when I see the childish moniker, I tap the call icon and put it to my ear. I'm aware of the guy stepping back from me and dropping his arms, no longer caging me in, but my main focus now is on my phone call. "Father," I say after he answers, "was there anyone else in the car with me?"
Riley?
He asks in confusion.
What are you talking about? Are you all right? What's wrong?
"The accident," I clarify impatiently. "Was there a girl in the car with me? Someone, I trail off as I try to recall her name, and I glance up to meet the narrow-eyed scrutiny of the guy who confronted me. After a beat, while I look at him expectantly, he supplies.
Taylor.
"Taylor," I repeat to my father. "Her name is Taylor. Was she in the car with me?"
No,
he answers, sounding bewildered.
You were alone in the car, weren't you? Have you remembered something?
He questions in a suddenly sharp tone. "No," I reply. "I don't remember anything. There's this guy here asking me about his sister, and he says that the accident was my fault." "Was it?" I demand. "He says that I should be in jail. Is that true?" There is a beat of silence before my father's voice booms out, strong and angry.
Of course not. You tell that Bradshaw boy to stop harassing you. In fact, I'll call the dean myself. I told you it wasn't a good idea to go off to college by yourself. I don't know why you didn't enroll in Yale with Audrey."
I ignore his final comments and seize on the rest. "Bradshaw? How do you know who he is? Do you know something about his sister?" I accuse.
No,
he exclaims without hesitation, making me believe he's telling the truth.
He's been trying to see you since you were in the hospital, and he tried to send the police to question you. The boy is deranged. I've contacted security with your location. They should be there shortly.
"What?" I question in dismay. "How could you have called security? You've been on the phone with me the whole time. And how do you know my exact location?"
He's tracking your phone,
the guy in front of me says flatly. I glance at him but refocus my attention on my conversation with my father. "He says you make my problems go away. What does that mean? Do you bribe people with your money to cover up the things I do wrong? And what have I done? This guy said this time. What about last time? Tell me what I've done," I demand.
You listen to me,
he snaps.
This boy is preying on your condition and manipulating you. His father is a business rival of mine and their family hates us. Don't listen to a word he says.
"Then why would he think his sister was in the car with me?" I retort. "If his family hates us so much." He expels a breath.
You both defied your families and insisted on being friends.
"She's my friend?" I ask. The guy makes a sound of disgust, drawing my attention to him.
More like you're a bad influence on her,
he says. I frown. "I'm a bad influence? Why? What do I do?" My father protests and talks, but I remove the phone from my ear as the guy in front of me speaks.
You're nothing but a party girl,
he tells me.
Even worse, you drink and drive. You already wrecked one car before your daddy got you a new one. Everybody saw you leave the party shit-faced, and the only reason Taylor wasn't with you was because she caught you kissing her boyfriend. I gape at him, shocked, speechless by what he's just told me. Finally, I manage to form words. "Then why would you think she was in the car with me this time?" He expels a long, exasperated breath. You know she wasn't in the car with you. She's fucking missing. And you better tell me where the hell she is.
I flinch back away from him as he takes a step toward me, but a stern male voice halts his advance.
Asher Bradshaw.
The guy continues to glare at me as he answers curtly.
Yes. Come with me, please.
The words are polite, but the tone is not. Asher responds with a thin smile, still facing me as he replies to the security guard behind him.
Why? I've done nothing wrong.
That's right, he hasn't, I confirm. The man looks at me.
We received a report that he was harassing a female student.
You mean me? I question. Because he hasn't been harassing me. We've just been standing here talking. My father starts to speak in protest, but I press the button to end the call. The security guard glances at my phone and then back at me.
Miss Stewart?
Yes, that's me, I reply. I'm sorry my father made a false report. He doesn't like my boyfriend, so he tries to get him in trouble. My face heats with the lie, especially since I can feel Asher's eyes boring into me. I keep my gaze on the security guard, though, because that's less embarrassing than facing Asher's reaction to me calling him my boyfriend. Especially since the thought enters my mind that I wouldn't mind him being my boyfriend if his attitude toward me changed. His appearance is attractive, and his blue eyes are magnetic. I can feel the pull of them even when I'm not looking at him. He's also forthright and completely without pretense, which makes his personality very attractive to me too. The only problem that I can see with him is that he doesn't like me.
Your boyfriend,
the security guard repeats in a flat tone, his expression stony. Suddenly, Asher is moving in my peripheral vision, and then he is beside me, blasting that side of my body with heat by his presence alone, even before he wraps an arm around my waist. My heartbeat spikes at the sensation as butterflies take flight in my stomach. I feel like I'm soaring even though I'm standing still, and the thrill of it brings a huge smile to my face. In contrast, the security guard looks annoyed.
Don't waste my time with your stupid games pissing off your father.
Ignore my father, I advise. Just tell him you'll take care of it, and it will make him happy. He can't tell me what to do anyway. I'm 18. He heaves an exasperated sigh.
Call security if anyone harasses you.
He flicks his eyes toward Asher. I will, I promise. He studies me for a moment and nods before turning and leaving us alone. Well, as alone as we can be amidst the students who have gathered to watch our exchange with the security guard. After a moment, they scatter, and we are ignored by the trickle of students walking past us in the hallway and ascending the stairs behind us. Asher looks at me, drawing my attention to him, and capturing my gaze as I turn my head to look up at him. It's only then that I realize I have my arm wrapped around his waist, too. I must have done it instinctively when he put his arm around me. It feels so good and so right that I forget we're not a couple. Until he scowls at me and removes his arm from my waist, breaking my hold on him, too, by stepping forward and turning to confront me again. My disappointment is swift and strong, because this is the only thing that has felt natural. The only true connection I've felt since I woke up in the hospital to a life I didn't recognize 2 months ago.
You know that bullshit doesn't work on me,
he says.
You can save it for all the frat boys that are going to get in your pants.
Excuse me? I exclaim, completely thrown by that statement. He gives me a mirthless smile.
Oh, that's good. Putting on that affronted, innocent act like you don't chew up and spit out guys all the time.
I stare at him. What? He expels a breath.
Honestly, this is getting tiresome. Just drop the act. Do you want me to tell you that I'm impressed? Yes, I am. I always knew you were smart, even though you like to play to the dumb blonde stereotype to lull your victims into a false sense of superiority. But this is beyond anything you've ever pulled before.
A false sense of superiority? I question, even as a warm glow spreads through my chest at hearing him call me smart. Isn't it a false sense of security? His smile has teeth this time.
Tell me again that you don't remember anything. How do you know that saying, then?
I have an answer for this, because it's something I asked the doctor myself. That's called semantic memory, and that wasn't affected. I only lost my episodic memory, all the personal events that actually happened to me. I huff out a harsh laugh. Only. I've only lost the memories that mattered, but random general knowledge? Yeah, I remember that. Good thing all those years of school weren't wasted, I add sarcastically.
So, you get a clean slate, Asher retorts. How convenient for you that you can forget all the people you've hurt and move on with your life like they don't matter. Well, let me tell you something. You're not going to forget about my sister.
He takes an intimidating step closer with a menacing look in his eyes.
You better tell me where she is right now.
Chapter 2. Riley. I'm still shaken by my encounter with Asher when I arrive to my first class. And it's not just from his intimidation tactics. I'm truly troubled by the disappearance of his sister, and by his assertion that I know where she is. What if she's in danger? And what if my lost memory is the only key to finding her? I'm frantic to recover my memory by the time I leave my last class. I've already searched my phone for clues and found nothing except her name in my contacts. There are no saved texts from Taylor to lead me to her whereabouts. I find lots of pictures of the two of us on my social media, and they confirm Asher's assessment of me being a party girl. But so is Taylor, apparently. There are so many photos of us holding drinks at parties, even though I'm well below the drinking age, and I suspect she is too. We're smiling in every picture like we're having the time of our lives. I note the obvious resemblance between her and her gorgeous brother, except that I haven't seen his face lit up with a happy smile like the one that brightens the beautiful face of his sister. She has the same striking blue eyes and thick brunette hair, except that his is cut short and hers is long and lush. She looks so lovely, young and carefree. Fear seizes my heart as I gaze at her, because I get the impression she has no awareness of the dangers of the world. In comparison, my eyes hold a sly, knowing look. I'm not naive, and my smile isn't as wide and happy as Taylor's. I reflect on Asher's comments about me, and the image of my former self seems to give them validity. I can't imagine hurting my constant companion in all these pictures, though. It's absolutely clear that she's my best friend, despite Audrey's claims that she held that role. She and I don't have the easy comfort with each other displayed in these images. I yearn for it now that I've seen it. I long to talk to her and feel that connection. Where is Taylor? Something terrible must have happened to her if she hasn't been able to contact her family or me. Or maybe she has amnesia too. My mind supplies desperately. I grasp at that straw, imagining her waking up disoriented in the hospital like I had and... Oh, wait! Maybe she hadn't woken up yet. Maybe she was in a coma. Maybe she was found without identification and nobody knew who she was. She needed me to come find her, and she would hear my voice and regain consciousness. I'm startled out of my imaginings of our happy reunion by the sudden sound of loud music playing. I look at the phone in my hand and can't believe my eyes when I see who is calling me. I quickly fumble to answer it and bring it to my ear. "Taylor?" I exclaim in disbelief.
"Hey, you crazy bitch," she replies. "Did you miss me?"
"Taylor!" I exclaim in relief this time. "Oh my God, where are you?"
"Home," she answers like that's no big deal. "It was fun while it lasted, but the honeymoon is officially over. Go ahead and say I told you so, because you were right. I was an idiot for thinking I wanted to be with him forever."
"You got married?" I shriek.
"No, thank God you made me promise not to. Besides, I couldn't get married without you there. Anyway, come over. I can't wait to see you and catch up. I should have stopped by your house first and had you drive me home, but I didn't think I'd get grounded." She huffs in annoyance. "Can you believe that? I'm 18 years old, and now my parents decide to ground me? They are so ridiculous." I don't comment on that, because judging from the little she's told me, I agree with her parents. I don't want to alienate her with my opinion, so I ask instead, "Could you give me your address? I need to tell the driver where to take me."
There is silence on the other end of the phone, and I remove it from my ear to see if the call is still connected. It is, so I place it up to my ear and am about to speak when Taylor laughs.
That's a good one, Riley. I heard about the amnesia story you're telling everyone. That was wicked smart. No matter what anyone asks you, you can just say you don't remember.
It's not a story, I reply. I really do have amnesia. She snorts.
Yeah, right. Just get your crazy ass over here. I'm dying to see you.
Then she hangs up. I call her right back. I need your address, I plead with her. I seriously don't know where you are. Oh, I exclaim as something occurs to me. Are you near the college? Because I'm here in my dorm.
I can't believe you followed my boring brother there, she says. We could have gone somewhere really cool. New York City is calling my name, especially after spending the last 2 months on a farm. What the hell was I thinking?
You were on a farm? I question. She laughs again.
I've missed you so much. Okay, crazy bitch. I'll play your demented game.
Satisfied? She asks a few seconds later as I receive a text from her containing an address. Thank you, I tell her.
See you soon,
she says, and hangs up. I order a ride, foregoing my family's driver in favor of Lyft, which I'm sure will arrive faster. I'll call him to drive me back to school, though, because Taylor lives in my family's upscale neighborhood. In fact, her house is only a couple of streets away from mine. I know because I've taken many solitary walks in the vicinity of my home since my recovery. Nothing I saw looked familiar or sparked my memory. I've learned not to hope that anything will, but I'm filled with that hope now, despite experiencing no recognition at the sight of Taylor's face in those pictures. I'm optimistic that seeing her in person and being in her presence will trigger something in my mind. She seems to be the person who knows me the best, and we've obviously shared secrets with each other that we haven't with anyone else. I text her I'm here before walking up the driveway to her house. I'm not prepared for Asher to yank open the door as soon as I stop in front of it. He looks livid, like the easing of his worry has unleashed all of his anger, and it's all directed at me.
Don't you dare, he rages. You stay the hell away from her. I swear I'll call the police if you come near her again.
But she told me to come here, I protest.
I don't care. You're toxic, and I'm not letting you poison my sister anymore. She doesn't need you ruining her life like you ruin everyone else's.
His words sting, and they knock the wind out of me. I suck in a sharp breath, trying to replace the air I lost. My mind sifts through the memories I do have of my parents, the ones I haven't wanted to examine too closely. My father's near indifference to me, and my mother's stilted conversations with me and brief, perfunctory hugs. Shouldn't they have been relieved that I was alive and overjoyed by my recovery? Even if I didn't remember loving them, shouldn't they still love me? Or had they ever loved me at all? And if my own parents didn't love me, then what did that say about me?
Riley!
The delighted exclamation of my name precedes a body flinging itself at me and wrapping me in a hug that's not perfunctory at all. It's unrestrained and enthusiastic and almost makes me lose my balance, and it's the best thing ever. I hug her back tightly as emotion overwhelms me. She eventually disentangles herself from me and steps back with a big, happy grin. Her smile instantly falls.
Are you crying?
She asks in dismay. Panic seizes her features, and she steps forward and grabs my arms.
What's wrong? What happened?
Nothing, I reply in a teary voice. I'm just glad you're okay. She tilts her head, studying me closely like she can't figure me out.
Right,
she finally says. Straightening, she regains her spirit.
Okay, let's go catch up.
In private, she adds, and throws a look at Asher. I stiffen at the reminder of his presence. Bracing myself, I glance at him warily. He's watching me with an unreadable expression, and it unnerves me. I've already come to expect anger and antagonism from him, and I don't know how to react to whatever look is on his handsome face right now. My gaze skitters away from him and quickly drops to the ground.
Riley, Taylor snaps. What the hell?
I look up at her in confusion. What? She appears to be aggravated, but just says,
Let's go to my room.
Asher doesn't protest as I follow her into the house, even standing aside to let me pass. It heightens my nervousness and makes me hyper-aware of him and myself. The proximity of his solid form makes my legs feel wobbly, and I'm suddenly too conscious of my body when I'm sure I can feel his eyes on me, watching me from behind. Nervous energy is still coursing through me when we reach Taylor's room, and I'm too restless to sit down. She apparently is too, because she begins pacing as she starts in on me.
What was that?
She demands. My face heats. Did she notice that I'm attracted to her brother? What? I ask, playing dumb and hoping that she's talking about something else.
Why were you acting all shy and nervous? What happened to your confidence?
Her blue eyes go wide in astonishment.
Have you fallen in love with him?
She asks in disbelief.
What?
I squeak in an unnaturally high-pitched voice.
You have, she crows in delight. Your cold, dark heart has finally been pierced by love's arrow,
she continues in an exaggerated theatrical tone.
Don't be ridiculous,
I retort, as my heart hammers in my chest in fear that Asher will somehow overhear her. I glance at the closed door, wondering if he's got his ear pressed to it, listening to our conversation.
You lying bitch, she exclaims. You said you wanted to go to Thackeray just to annoy him and seduce him, but you actually have feelings for him. How have I not seen this before? How long have you liked him?
I said that I wanted to seduce him? I ask in shock and dismay. She gives me a funny look.
Yeah, you've been saying that since we were 14.
14? I exclaim in horror. Her gaze narrows in on me, and she studies me intently.
What the hell is going on, Riley? Why are you acting so weird?
I can't believe this, I say. What kind of person am I? Who tells her best friend that she wants to seduce her brother? And who lets her best friend's family worry about her when she knows where she is? No wonder Asher hates me. Silence stretches between us as Taylor stares at me. She sounds upset when she finally speaks.
You're not faking, are you? You really have amnesia.
Chapter 3. Riley. Taylor and I have a long, draining conversation, but I feel better by the end of it, like I'm not as weighed down with everything after sharing it with her. Conversely, I feel more disconnected than ever from my past self after listening to Taylor's stories about the things I did. Some of them were fearless, some were reckless, and none are things I can imagine myself doing now. It's like hearing about someone else, someone that I can't relate to at all.
You're so different, Taylor remarks, speaking it aloud. It's like you have a completely different personality.
We fall silent, and there is awkwardness between us for the first time. The realization of what her statement means seeps into my mind and sinks my spirits. I voice my worry as a hesitant question. Are we still friends? She brings her distant gaze back to me and focuses it like a laser for an instant, reminding me of her brother. Then it softens, and she gives me a reassuring smile. Of course. We've been best friends since kindergarten. Nothing can change that. Melancholy overwhelms me, because I'm trying to picture us as little girls on our first day of school, but I can't. I know that I will probably be able to find pictures of us in the photo albums I previously looked at in my desperation to spark a memory, any memory. But I know that I won't remember anything this time either. She sees my expression.
What's wrong? Why do you look like someone died?
I might as well have died, I lament. Because my whole life has been erased. I don't remember kindergarten, or you, or even me. I don't remember anything before I woke up in the hospital. And I'm starting to think that I might never remember. Because if I don't remember my best friend or my parents, then how can I hope that anything else will spark my memory? It will, she assures me. It's only been a couple of months, and that's not that long to heal from an accident. I mean, just healing from a broken arm takes 6 weeks, right? The doctor said my head injury is healed, I reply. That's why he gave me the okay to go back to school, because there's nothing physically wrong with me. But he said it's possible I might never get my memory back.
He shouldn't have told you that, she exclaims. He's put negative thinking in your head, and you don't need that. You've got to think positive.
I deflate a bit, although I respond with a smile to her pep talk. I know she's trying to encourage me, but I can't help feeling let down by her pronouncement that the possibility of me never getting my memory back is a negative thing. While I view it that way myself, I wanted her to tell me that it won't matter to our friendship if I never remember anything. I'm aware that's wishful thinking, because friendships are built on shared experiences and the things people have in common. What do we have in common now, besides a past I can't remember? She smiles back at me.
So, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm still trying to talk my parents into letting me stay at the dorm with you. It'll be ridiculous to have to drive back and forth every day, especially when they start giving us a ton of homework. I'm already a day behind, so I don't need to waste any more time.
I perk up at this news. You are going to be in my dorm? Her smile is brighter this time, like it was when I first arrived.
I'm your roommate. It's going to be so much fun living together.
Oh, I say. I wondered why I didn't have a roommate. I thought maybe my parents arranged it that way because of my condition. Taylor's smile disappears and is replaced by a look of disgust, which then turns into an expression of outrage.
You don't have a condition. Thank God I'm back to save you from these people. Who knows what kind of pathetic person they would have turned you into? Don't worry. I'm going to bring back the Riley they're trying to make you forget. Fierce, crazy bitch who takes no shit from anyone.
I respond with a weak smile, because she obviously doesn't get it. Nobody is trying to make me forget my former self. I've done that on my own, and no one has been able to make me remember her. Taylor doesn't want to believe that my memory loss is total and permanent. She keeps telling me who I am, but I'm afraid I'll never be that person again. Where does that leave me? And how will it affect our friendship if I can't live up to her memories of me? I'm glad you're back, I say, because that is the truth. I hated not being able to remember where she was and worrying if she was in danger.
Me too, she says. I missed you. And I missed my life. I even missed my parents and Asher. At least I did until they grounded me. And Asher is taking the big brother bullshit to extremes. He's so annoying.
He was worried about you, I retort vehemently. It was awful not knowing where you were. I can't believe we put your family through that. On purpose. That's terrible. Her mouth drops open, and she just stares at me. Well, it is, I mutter.
Oh, God, she exclaims. You really are in love with him.
I am not. Stop saying that. Paranoia has me glancing toward the door again, although it's crazy to think that he'd be standing on the other side of it this entire time. I return my attention to her and go on the defensive. You just don't want to admit that what we did was wrong.
I left a note for them, she tells me.
That takes the fight out of me. You did? Yes, she says with a sigh like I'm annoying. You're the one who told me to do it. You said it would keep them from calling the police, even though I'm 18 and can go where I want. You said to leave a note on my bed saying that I went to visit a friend, and that's what I did. Oh, I respond. I guess that's not so bad then. She rolls her eyes, definitely giving me the feeling I'm annoying her. Okay, well, I'll see you at school tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll be at the dorm too. It's clear I'm being dismissed. Okay, I agree. See you tomorrow. I take my leave before I can overstay my welcome, but I don't feel like I've made a good impression on her. I'm not very hopeful about the future of our friendship, because I'm not sure if she likes me anymore. Then I encounter the person who really doesn't like me, and everything gets flipped on its head. Chapter 4. Riley. Asher steps into my path from a room down the hallway before I can get to the stairs, which makes me even more paranoid that he was up here listening to our conversation. The last thing I'm expecting, though, is for him to confirm it.
I heard what you said.
I was already slowing my steps at the sight of him, but now I halt in my tracks. His blue eyes capture mine, and my panicked pulse jumps. I'm ensnared and unable to speak as he moves closer. He's looking at me in awe, like he can't believe I'm real.
You took my side,
he marvels. I find my voice. Yeah, I say hesitantly, wondering how much he heard. I'm immediately too nervous and anxious to escape. Okay, I need to go. I try to veer around him, but he takes a sidestep and blocks my way again.
Wait,
he says in an urgent tone, but then he pauses and takes a breath before speaking again.
Is it true? Do you really not remember anything?
I'm relieved that he's not asking me about his sister's ridiculous claim that I'm in love with him, and I answer him sincerely. I really don't. I have no memory of anything before I woke up in the hospital. His gaze is searching, looking deeply into my eyes for the truth. Wow, he responds, seeming stunned again. Yeah, I agree, feeling awkward. Well, I should go.
You're so different,
he tells me, echoing what Taylor said. Yeah, I say. So I've been told. I'm still waiting for him to move out of my way so I can leave when he suddenly says,
Hey, are you hungry? Do you want to go get something to eat?
I'm completely thrown by the invitation, and I have no idea how to respond. He sees the expression on my face and gives me a rueful smile.
I know, and I'm not denying that this might be the start of the apocalypse, but we might as well go out with full stomachs, right?
Now I'm really confused. Huh? A laugh bursts forth from him, and he's smiling as he gives my arm a tug.
Come on, let's go get some pizza.
I question him no further, because his smile is warm and happy and it's directed at me. It makes me feel accepted and liked, and I don't want that feeling to end. Taylor is the only other person who has made me feel that way, but it hadn't lasted. I'd left her room unsure if she still liked me, or if she only felt obligated to because of our friendship. But Asher has no obligation toward me. In fact, he wanted nothing to do with me until he realized that I was telling the truth about my memory loss. He's actually the first person to show signs of liking the new me. Maybe because he hated the old me. That harsh realization brings my own rueful smile to my face.
What?
He asks, and I glance toward him to see him watching me with a quizzical look. It's just that you're the only person who's not disappointed that I have amnesia, I confess. Everyone else has been let down because I'm not as fun or as sexy as I apparently used to be. The familiar angry expression is suddenly back on Asher's face, but this time it doesn't seem to be directed at me.
Who told you that?
His demanding tone pulls the truth from me. My boyfriend. Or at least he said he was my boyfriend, but he didn't really act like it. I mean, shouldn't he have been concerned about me? Shouldn't he have said that he was worried about me and that he was glad I was okay? All he said was that I looked good, and then he wanted... I shake my head and look away, seeing that we're at the front door. I open it and step outside, wanting air, and to walk away from this conversation. Asher follows me out. I feel his presence behind me, and I hear the door close. He catches up to me, but all he says is,
"I'll drive you back to campus."
He leads me to a car I assume is his, and he opens the passenger door and nods for me to get in, before walking around to the driver's side without waiting for me to comply. His tension fills the confined space as he drives in silence. It takes me only a short time to break it, because we've just gotten to the end of the street when I speak. I didn't do it. He was a stranger to me, but he didn't understand that. He didn't get that even though we'd done it before, it would be like the first time for me, because I didn't remember the previous times. I stop talking, feeling my face heating up in embarrassment. Why am I telling Asher about this? It's completely mortifying, and I hide my flaming face behind my hands.
"Hey,"
he says in a soothing voice that's reinforced with a comforting touch on my arm.
"It's okay. You had every right to refuse him. You always have the right to say no. I don't care how many times you've..."
He trails off and can't say the rest. His intense blue eyes meet mine, though, until the honking of a horn from behind us startles him. He faces forward again and checks that he's clear before pulling away from the stop sign. There's a different kind of tension in the car now. The unspoken word hangs in the air between us. Sex. It's the word neither of us could say, but it's created a palpable awareness of each other as possible sexual partners. We could have sex, if we wanted to. He asked me out to dinner, and after that... No, I tell myself. He's just as much a stranger to me as my supposed boyfriend. It doesn't matter that I'm insanely attracted to him, and that he's the only guy I've wanted since I became whoever I am now. Sleeping with him would be... hot. No, I admonish myself. It would be impulsive and irresponsible and something that the old me would do. Didn't Taylor say I'd told her I wanted to seduce Asher? I cringe at the thought of telling her that I wanted to sleep with her brother. But then I sit up straight as another thought occurs to me. This attraction to Asher seems to be the only thing I have in common with my former self. What if it's a latent memory? What if he's the key to unlocking all my other memories?
"What is it?"
he asks.
"What's wrong?"
I realize how stiff and tense my posture is, and I make an effort to relax it, but I'm too worked up. "Do you have a girlfriend?" I blurt and drop my gaze to my knees as heat suffuses my face. There is a pause before he answers.
"No, I don't."
An unexpected sense of relief washes over me and has me volunteering. "I don't have a boyfriend. He broke up with me, the guy who said he was my boyfriend. At least, I think he did. He got mad and left, and I haven't heard from him since."
"When was this?"
Asher questions. "About a month ago? That's another thing. If he was my boyfriend, then why didn't he come see me right away? Why would he wait almost a whole month before showing up at my house? I can understand that he didn't want to go to the hospital, but..."
"You can?"
Asher cuts in tersely.
"Because I don't understand that at all. If he really was your boyfriend, he would have been in the waiting room at the hospital, even if they wouldn't let him see you. I was there, and I'm not even..."
"You were?" I interrupt in surprise, whipping my head toward him. He keeps his eyes on the road.
"Yeah,
He clears his throat.
I wanted to know if you knew where my sister was.
That answer doesn't explain why the back of his neck is turning red. I avert my gaze, not wanting to stare, because it's obvious that he's embarrassed. Why would that embarrass him? My heart starts to pound as I ponder that. Could there be another reason he was at the hospital? Had he actually been concerned about me? Does he secretly like me? That thought sends a rush of excitement through me, because that would mean that I have a chance with him. I dare a glance at him, and my gaze darts away shyly when he happens to glance at me too. My stomach flutters in the most pleasant way, making me giddy. I have to suppress the urge to giggle like an exuberant teenager, but that's how I feel. For the first time in these 2 months since I became aware of my existence, I feel young and carefree and truly alive. On impulse, I reach out and turn on the radio. A song I know is playing, and I sing along.
You remember songs?
Asher asks as we stop at a red light. No, I reply. But I've listened to a lot of songs since I got home from the hospital. It's one of the things I did to try to spark a memory. It didn't work, I say with a sigh, but I quickly banish that mood killer. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to forget I have amnesia. That brings forth my giggles. Forget I have amnesia, I repeat, amusing myself. I look over at him and see him watching me with a reluctant smile. No, I complain. You can't hold back. You have to embrace the ridiculousness. His expression goes neutral, but there is confrontation in his tone.
Do I?
Yes, Mr. Serious, I retort. We're going to have fun. Do you know what that is? Have you ever had fun? He scowls at me, his eyes narrowing.
You sound just like the Riley I remember.
There is no mistaking the suspicion and accusation in his voice. I throw up my hands in defeat before unbuckling my seatbelt.
What the hell are you doing?
He demands. I'm leaving, I tell him as I throw open my door. I'm sick of you not believing me. I don't need this. If I wanted to be around people who don't like me and make me feel bad about myself, I would have stayed home. Thank you for the ride, but I'll walk from here. The campus is in sight, so I'm not being reckless when I get out of the car. The anger and admonishment in his voice when he barks out my name conveys his opinion to the contrary. I take pleasure in slamming the door and marching away from him toward the sidewalk. His voice comes at me again a second later, and I deduce that he lowered the window so he could shout at me.
Riley, get back in the car. Riley!
I ignore him and keep walking. Blaring horns cut off his frustrated shouting, and I assume the light we were stopped at has turned green. He's probably holding up traffic, and the drivers behind him are making their displeasure known. He'll be forced to drive away now, and he apparently does, because I don't hear him anymore. I'm so pissed off and annoyed that I'm power walking back to my dorm. I don't care how long it will take me. The next thing I know, Asher is overtaking me and stepping into my way. I have no time to stop, and I collide with him. I gasp as I hit his hard body, and his breaths come heavy and labored.
Get in the damn car,
he pants, but his arms come around me to hold me to him. I tilt my head up to glare at him, but my breath hitches when I meet his intense blue eyes. I become aware that my hands are clutching his back, and that his body feels good pressed against mine. His gaze smolders, heating my insides and melting me to him.
Riley,
he says, his voice rough but not angry. My breath hitches again, and my stomach goes into free fall as he lowers his mouth to mine. The touch of his lips is an exquisite sensation that's indescribable. It's sweet and thrilling at the same time. The pressure is soft, but it sends a sharp pang of pleasure to my stomach. I moan and part my lips, and he sweeps his tongue over them before slipping it inside my mouth to tangle with mine. My moan is longer this time, because the pleasure is even more intense. Asher groans and kisses me with a hunger to match my own. My hands move up to grip his thick hair, and his tangle in mine. Then they run down my back to cup my backside and squeeze. His moan is the sexiest thing I've ever heard, but it's followed by the jarring sound of horns honking and annoying voices calling out, "Get a room!" We pull apart, both breathing heavily. The look in his eyes is scorching hot, and my body goes up in flames. "I have a room," I tell him breathlessly. I'm so glad in that moment that I do, because I'm desperate to continue what we've been doing. I want him to kiss me and touch me. His eyes are burning, inflaming me, but he holds out his arm like a gentleman toward the street, like he's saying, "After you." I follow it and see his car parked by the curb. Without a word, I go to it and get in. Shortly afterward, he's getting in the driver's side. He drives to my dorm without me having to tell him which one it is. I don't question it, because I can't wait to have him in my room. He hesitates, however.
"I should take you to dinner."
"I don't want dinner," I tell him, bypassing pride and self-preservation in my desperation. "I want you. Do you want me, Asher?" His eyes blaze blue fire at me.
"I want you,"
he says.
"But we should—"
"I don't care what we should do," I cut in, leaning in to kiss him. He groans into my mouth, and then he's gone, yanking open his door and getting out to slam it shut. I'm dismayed and disappointed by his abrupt departure, but he soothes me and inflames me further when he opens my door to pull me out and kiss me again. It's hot and hungry and leaves me wanting more when he ends it. His gaze is heat and desire, and I still feel it when he moves to stand beside me and take my hand. I'm unaware of anything else as I walk with him, and I don't notice the path we took to get to the door of the dorm, even though I watched my feet move as I mindlessly went with Asher.
"Key,"
he says, his voice penetrating the haze I'm in. I try to make sense of the word, and I grasp its meaning and dig in my purse to find it. I pull it out and hand it to him, and he uses it to open the door. Then I'm required to think again when he asks me my room number. Recalling it, I triumphantly tell him and rely on him to take us there. I then have to find my room key, and he unlocks my door. It's all perfect, until he shoves his hands in his pockets and gives me an incongruous goodnight, even while he looks at me with desire. "It will be," I tell him, and step closer to run a hand over his chest. He sucks in a breath.
"I can't."
"You can," I insist, cutting off his protest. "I want you to." He closes his eyes like he's in pain.
"Riley,"
he says hoarsely, and I hear the desire in his voice. Pressing my advantage, I plaster my body to his, eliciting a tortured groan from him. "I want you," I say in a seductive whisper. He stops fighting it and slams his mouth down on mine in a dominant kiss that takes my breath away. His hands grab my bottom and haul me up, and I instinctively wrap my legs around him for support. He jerks us into my dorm room and slams the door shut, pressing me up against it in the next moment. He's wild with passion, and so am I. I moan into his mouth as he grinds his erection between my legs, giving me friction in the perfect spot. His tongue massages mine in tandem, making the kiss as sexual and erotic as what his body is doing to mine below our waists. I make desperate little whimpering sounds, because I'm overcome by my building need for something only he can give me. He knows it, and he wields his power over me by ripping his mouth from mine and stilling his hips.
"Tell me you want me,"
he demands. "I want you," I exclaim without shame. "Please, don't stop." His voice is rough and harsh as he says,
"I've wanted you for so long. So fucking long."
I gasp as he resumes his grinding, and I feel my climax nearing much sooner than I expected. I close my eyes to lose myself to it, but Asher's demanding voice tells me to look at him. I obey, and his electric blue eyes are all I see as my orgasm hits me full force. I cry out his name, and then I'm shuddering in his arms. When I still, he kisses me long and deep, and I reciprocate with the full scope of emotion I feel for him in this moment. Our connection is so good and so right, and I want him to experience the pleasure he just gave me. When he gently sets me down, I place my hand over the bulge in his pants. His gaze is still hot with passion as it collides with mine, but he steps back from my touch.
I just need to use your bathroom,
he tells me,
and then we can go eat.
He leaves the room, going out into the hallway and shutting the door behind him. I don't know how to react. On the one hand, he just rejected me. On the other, he still wants to take me to dinner. Unless he only said that so he could leave without a scene. Maybe he lied and went home. I immediately reject that idea, because it doesn't seem like something he would do. But how do I know what he would do? I only met him yesterday. I walk over to my bed and sink down on it, wringing my hands in my lap. How is it possible that I've only known him for 1 day? It seems much longer than that. In fact, it feels like I know him better than anyone else. Because you've been more intimate with him than anyone else, I admonish myself. That's why you think you have some special connection with him and that you know him so well. There is a knock on the door, and I spring up to go answer it. I can't help my surprise when I see Asher, and I blurt, "You're still here!" His face falls in obvious disappointment.
You want me to leave?
No, I just thought you left, I admit, my gaze dropping to his shoes. I thought you didn't want. His feet move closer, and then I feel his hand tilting my chin up to look at him. His eyes are intense, but his voice is quiet and intimate, meant just for me to hear.
I want to, so much, but I don't want to rush you.
His gaze seems to intensify even more.
And I don't want to be a one-night stand or a fling.
I jerk back out of his grasp and turn my back on him, but he follows me into the room and slams the door. In the next instant, he's stalking past me and turning to face me with a confrontational stance.
You can act insulted, but that's your history.
And you're going to hold it against me forever, even though I don't remember it.
I'm not holding it against you, he retorts. It's your body and you can do whatever you want with it. I'm just telling you what I want.
Oh yeah? I challenge. Because you said you wanted me, and then you act like it's wrong for me to want you. His blue eyes flash with anger and heat.
It's not wrong, Riley. It's fucking hot.
He steps closer, and the look in his eyes is scorching now.
Seeing you come, and hearing you call my name when you did was the hottest fucking thing that's ever happened to me. It was better than any fantasy I've ever had about you, and I wanted to take you right there that minute.
I'm completely intoxicated by his words and by the way he's looking at me. My libido fires up again, and I want him to do exactly what he's talking about.
But I didn't want that to be the only time, he tells me. And I think it would be if it happened so fast.
No, I begin to deny, but he continues what he's saying.
I want more with you, Riley. More of everything. More kissing, more touching, and definitely sex. But I also want your time. I want to go out on dates, and for everyone to know that we're together. Can you give me that? Do you want that with me?
Yes, I exclaim without hesitation, as a happy smile forms on my face. He responds with a beautiful answering smile.
Good. Let's go eat. You made me work up an appetite,
he teases.
All that heavy lifting.
Hey, I protest as my cheeks burn at the memory of my wanton behavior. I'm not heavy,
No,
he says, raising a hand to caress the blush.
you're just right.
His eyes meet mine.
You're perfect.
He leans in to brush his lips against mine in a brief, tender kiss. Moving to my side, he takes my hand and starts walking toward the door, but then stops. Letting go of my hand, he bends to retrieve my purse and my key from the floor. More heat rises to my face at the evidence of how lost to passion I was. He hands my stuff back to me with a wink. I thrust it back at him. I have to go to the bathroom.
I'll wait for you outside.
I hurry out of the room ahead of him and take off down the hall. Once inside the bathroom, I glance at my flushed face in the mirror. I look just like how I feel, overheated, embarrassed, and excited. The erotic memory of what we did replays in my mind, and I don't know how I'll be able to sit through dinner with Asher and try to act normal. When I go into the stall and clean myself up, I'm even more embarrassed. I go to the sink and wash my hands and pat cool water on my face. My blonde hair is a little mussed, and I realize I should have brought a brush with me. I smooth it down with my fingers and try not to think about how it got messy. I need to cool down. I take a few calming breaths and resolve to keep my thoughts clean. Seeing Asher holding my purse helps. It's such a boyfriend thing to do, and it puts my mind in date mode rather than hookup mode. His smile is warm, enhancing the feeling. He hands me my purse, and I sling it over my shoulder, and then we walk together holding hands, exactly like a couple on a date. He opens the car door for me, and I sit in contentment as he drives. I smile when I see the restaurant he's brought me to. Pizza my heart. It fits my mood perfectly, and I get that giddy feeling again. How cute! I exclaim. This is perfect for our first date. I'm too excited to sit any longer, so I spring out of the car and then stand beside it impatiently, waiting for Asher to join me. He's smiling, and a teasing look is in his eyes.
So this is a date, huh?
I'm too happy to play along and engage in banter. My reply comes straight from the heart. Of course it is, and it's just perfect for my first date. Just like you gave me the perfect first kiss, and the perfect, well, all the perfect firsts. I add, blushing. I'm glad they were all with you. That last declaration has me shyly dropping my gaze from his. When he says nothing, I become nervous that I've overdone the gushing. I'm about to try to save face by changing the subject, but he speaks before I can say anything.
Those weren't your firsts. None of them were with me.
Relieved that this was the cause of his silence, I look at him and speak with sincerity. But I don't remember those, so everything was new to me. Today was my first kiss and my first everything. I blush and hurry past that, injecting brightness into my tone. And this is my first date! His expression changes, and he looks absolutely stunned as he stares at me. My nervousness ramps up, because that doesn't seem like a positive reaction. Are we going inside? My hesitant prompt rouses him.
Right, sorry.
He gestures for me to proceed to the entrance of the restaurant. I do, and he falls into step beside me. I'm very aware of the fact that he doesn't hold my hand this time, and disappointment sinks my mood. I've obviously put him off with my talk of firsts. I sounded like a teenager in high school rather than a woman in college. Maybe he doesn't find me sexy anymore, now that he's realized I no longer have any sexual experience. Maybe that was my allure to him, even though he hated me. At least he doesn't hate me now. I try to console myself, and it helps, because I like him, and I want him to like me. It's disappointing that the physical part of it might have fizzled for him, but I decide that I'll take friendship with him over nothing. To that end, I focus on enjoying being here with him. And it's not hard to do. Like I told him, every experience is new to me. I don't remember going out to eat with friends, or with a guy, or anyone. My enthusiasm quickly returns because I'm creating a brand new memory, and that's a big priority for me. I want to have all the normal experiences that someone my age has, and I want to be able to recall them at will and reminisce about them. Asher has already provided me with my best and most exciting memories, so I'm very keen on keeping him in my life. I want to make more great memories with him, and this can be another good one if I stay in the moment and enjoy it without any expectations of romance. The place has a nice ambiance for a pizza restaurant. The brick walls have an understated stone color, and the lighting is set up to add warmth to the atmosphere. There are brown booths and high-top tables complementing the decor. We are led to a booth, and I'm glad because it feels cozier and like it gives us a measure of privacy. One thing I haven't gotten used to yet is crowds of people. Not that it's packed, but there are a decent number of people dining here. Most of them seem to be our age, and I assume they're students since this place is so close to campus. A small group of guys sitting at a high-top table calls out to him and gestures for him to sit with them. He shakes his head at the hostess, who is giving him a quizzical look.
We'll sit here. We're just going to go say hi for a minute.
She nods and sets out menus for us before walking away. Asher then takes my hand, for which I am very grateful as he leads me to the table of guys and introduces me. One guy smirks at me.
Yeah, I know Riley.
Asher's hand tightens on mine.
See you guys later. We're gonna go order.
The rest of them tell me that it was nice to meet me, and they all seem nice, except for the one who said he knows me. The way he's looking at me gives me the sickening feeling that he knows me in ways I don't want him to. He's so smug and off-putting that I can't believe I could have wanted to have sex with him, regardless of his looks. Asher and I sit down in silence, and he immediately picks up his menu and looks at it instead of me. Tension is emanating from him, making me lose my nerve to attempt conversation with him. The waitress comes by to take our drink orders, and I ask for water.
You're not going to sit here and eat nothing, are you?
Asher snaps at me. I'm startled and confused by this question. No, why would I go out to dinner if I wasn't going to eat?
Well,
he says.
You already started off with 0 calories for your drink, so...
You're criticizing my drink choice? I interrupt in disbelief. I didn't know I needed your approval to get a damn glass of water. Am I allowed to choose what I want on my pizza, or do I need your permission?
You don't need my permission, babe.
A male voice interjects.
I'll get you whatever you want to eat or drink. Why don't we work up an appetite first?
I tear my glare away from Asher and direct it at the smug jerk who insinuated that he knew me. I don't want anything from you. Go away. He laughs.
What? You think Mr. Nice Guy here can give it to you better than I can? Come on, Riley. You know you like it dirty.
I stare at him. Wow. I must have had no taste in guys at all. Asher barks out a laugh, and I look at him. He smiles at me, and I light up.
God,
our interloper drawls in disgust.
It's like a scene from some Disney movie. What the hell, Riley? I thought you were just out of commission for a while, recuperating after your accident. I didn't think you turned into some sappy girl looking for Prince Charming. You always hated that shit.
I spare him a glance and shrug. People change. He shakes his head.
Have fun playing nice. Give me a call when you get bored.
He leaves, stepping around the waitress bringing us our drinks. Are you ready to order? She asks. Yes, I answer. I want some pizza. What would you like on it? She inquires. I look questioningly at Asher.
What are your favorite toppings?
He asks. I don't know, I reply. I don't remember, I amend. He gapes at me.
You haven't had pizza since...
I shake my head. No.
Wow.
He responds.
Okay, how about we start simple with pepperoni and see if you like that?
Okay, I agree. It turns out that I do like pepperoni on my pizza, and I really love pizza. It's delicious, and I devour 4 slices. That was good, I say as I savor the aftertaste in my mouth. That was really good.
If only I could get that kind of review.
He deadpans. It takes several seconds for me to comprehend his meaning, and then my blood heats as I look him square in the eye and tell him, "You were better than good."
How do you know?
He challenges, but color is creeping up his neck and into his face.
Since you have no one to compare me to.
I don't have anything to compare this pizza to either, but I enjoyed every bite. Heat flares in his eyes at my innuendo-filled flirting. I want to put my hand on his thigh, but it would be an awkward reach since we're sitting across from each other in the booth. I just hold his gaze instead, hoping that he'll come back to my dorm and have sex with me. I can see that he wants me, and it seems for a moment like he'll give in to his desire. My pulse spikes with anticipation as I remember his kiss and his body pressed against mine. I crave to feel that again, and to have more of him this time. I want to feel him inside me, and the image of it springs to mind so easily that my core clenches at the phantom sensation of him thrusting into me. "Have we had sex before?" I ask him. His whole demeanor changes, and not for the better. It's like he withdraws from me, even though he remains seated right where he's at.
No, we haven't.
I call him on it. What's that attitude? Why would that question make you hostile?
I don't know, Riley.
He replies in a deceptively casual tone.
Maybe it's because you tried to seduce me when you were 14, and then you had sex with the biggest player in my grade when I turned you down.
I process this. Was that the idiot that was here earlier trying to get me to leave with him?
No,
he answers.
He came later, after you slept with my best friend.
I gape at him.
Yeah,
he says.
You kind of did me a favor in a way.
He grimaces.
It took that for me to really see what an asshole he was. He had sex with a 14-year-old girl. I don't care if he was only 2 years older. 16 is a world away from 14. He should have gone to jail for that. But karma caught up to him later.
How? I question as I'm still processing this.
He got hooked on drugs, and he's been in and out of rehab twice already. Completely flaked out on school, and he didn't even graduate high school.
That's terrible, I exclaim. How can you wish that on anyone? He stares at me like he's never seen me before.
He took advantage of you.
He begins slowly. But I approached him, right? Just like I tried to seduce you? Taylor told me I wanted to when I was 14.
But he should have said no,
he retorts angrily. Like you did, I state. Not every guy is as perfect as you. He shakes his head.
I wasn't perfect. I wanted you even then, and I barely managed to resist you. When you tried to kiss me, I almost gave in.
You wouldn't even kiss me? I ask with a pout.
I knew if I did, I might go too far. I was 16, and all I thought about was sex. And when you said you wanted me to be your first, well, I didn't exactly trust myself to do the right thing.
But you did, I comment. You turned me down.
And he didn't,
he adds with bitterness. Do you wish it had been you? I dare to ask.
Not then,
he answers immediately.
I wouldn't want to be the asshole who took your virginity when you were 14. But if it had happened later, when you were older...
Like now? I question boldly. Because it's like I'm back to being a virgin. His eyes narrow on me with clear suspicion.
Is that what this is?
He falls back in his seat, his eyes widening in disbelief.
Did you plan this whole thing to seduce me?
What? I question in confusion.
Your amnesia. Is it some scheme to make me fall for you? Play born-again virgin so you can make me feel like I'm your first?
Wow, I say as anger starts to simmer within me. Mr. Nice Guy? Is that what that asshole called you? You sure have him fooled, and you had me fooled for a minute too. I'm not good enough for you unless I'm a virgin? Well, you can kiss my promiscuous ass. So I have a history. So what? Are you a virgin, Mr. Nice Guy?
That's not what I meant,
he protests.
I don't care about...
I cut him off by shooting up from my chair and declaring, I don't care. You can keep your opinions to yourself from now on, because I don't care what you think.
Will there be anything else?
I glance in the direction the voice came from and see our waitress standing back from our table with an uncomfortable look on her face. I startle her by darting to quickly snatch the bill from her hand. No, thank you. Everything was good, except for the company. I throw a withering look at Asher before storming off to pay the bill. He's soon on my heels, but I ignore him as I slap the bill down on top of the cashier station. As I'm digging in my purse, Asher's hand moves past me holding a credit card, but I elbow it out of the way and press myself against the counter. I've got it, I snap, and slam my purse down in front of me so I can see into it better. Finding my credit card, I pull it out and hand it to the bewildered cashier. I make sure to leave a good tip for the waitress before signing the receipt. Asher follows me out of the restaurant and stops beside me as I pull out my phone to order a ride back to campus.
I can drive you back to your dorm,
he says in an exasperated tone. I ignore him, getting satisfaction from his agitation.
You're just as stubborn and infuriating as ever,
he explodes in frustration.
That hasn't changed at all.
He expels a long breath.
I don't judge you for sleeping around. I'm jealous as hell, and I wanted to beat up every guy who touched you. But I don't judge you. We weren't together, and I had no right to feel so possessive of you, especially since I slept around too.
My gaze shoots to his. You did?
Yeah,
he admits.
I kind of went crazy after I found out about you and Caden. I got drunk and lost my virginity at a party and...
You were a virgin? I interrupt.
Yeah,
he confirms, looking down in a shy way I find endearing.
I was kind of waiting for you.
He winces.
That sounds so creepy, I know, but it didn't seem that way at the time. I thought when you were 17 it wouldn't be so bad, even though I would be 19 and you would still be a minor. He cringes after revealing that. It was so wrong. I realize that now.
Butterflies are swooping through my stomach. You've liked me since you were 16?
Yes,
he says, looking pained.
I tried not to, but I thought about you a lot.
But I thought you hated me. That's what it seemed like yesterday. You looked like you couldn't stand the sight of me.
I was worried about Taylor, and I thought you knew where she was.
I think back on our confrontation, something nagging at my mind. Wait, you said I almost killed someone. Who? He shifts, looking uncomfortable.
She's okay.
Who is she? I demand.
No one you know, he replies. Both of you are lucky to be alive, so you should consider this a...
I want to meet her, I cut in. Tell me her name. A car pulls up then, and I remember that I ordered a ride back to the campus. Before I can move, Asher strides over to the driver and hands him money as he tells him that I don't need a ride. To his credit, the man doesn't take his word for it and asks to speak to me. I walk over and apologize to him as I confirm that my plans have changed. I would have left with him if I wasn't so determined to get the information I want out of Asher. I badger him about it relentlessly as he drives me back and walks me to my dorm, and he finally gives in. Sort of.
I'll ask her if she's okay with meeting you,
he says. Okay, I agree. That's fair. It should be her decision. But could you tell her that I'm sorry? He shakes his head.
That's something you need to tell her yourself.
I acknowledge that with a nod. Okay, you're right. He stumbles back a step, and I look at him in alarm, but he speaks in mock shock.
Did you just admit I'm right about something? Is the world about to end? Is hell freezing over? Am I hallucinating?
Shut up, I say laughingly, as I take my key out to open the door to my dorm room, but it swings open, and Taylor is standing in the doorway with a disapproving expression. Hell no, she declares. You are not having sex with my brother in here. Shut up, I grit out through my teeth, knowing that everyone in the hallway must have heard her.
What are you doing here?
Asher demands. I live here, she retorts. And I don't want you here, so get the hell out.
No way,
he says.
You're not staying here after what you did. You're living at home and commuting to school.
Nope, she replies, clearly relishing what she's telling him. Mom and Dad changed their minds about it. It would take too much time away from my studying to have to drive back and forth every day. They don't want my grades to suffer. Asher's face goes slack in disbelief before anger overtakes his expression.
That's just great. They didn't even last a day before they caved. No wonder you pull all the shit that you do, because they let you get away with everything.
Calm down, she says, looking exasperated now. I'm staying in a dorm, not joining a gang. You act like you're so much better than me, but my grades are just as good as yours. The only difference between us is that I know how to have fun, and you don't.
Fun,
he repeats derisively.
Is that what you call making your family worry about you for months? Because that wasn't any fun for us.
I left a note.
Only because Riley talked you into it. You wouldn't have even given us that consideration otherwise.
Taylor looks at me like I betrayed her. You told him that?
No.
Asher answers for me.
I heard you guys talking.
She directs a look of outrage on him. You were spying on us?
I had to,
he insists.
I knew your story about staying with a friend was bullshit. I needed to know where you were for the past 2 months. I want to know who the hell this guy is.
What guy? She asks, putting on an innocent expression.
Taylor,
he warns, taking a step toward her. I throw my arm out in front of him. Leave her alone. He turns his head to glare at me.
Stay out of this.
Can't you just let it go? I plead. It's over. It's in the past. Can't we move on? His gaze turns searching as he looks into my eyes, and my question becomes less about Taylor the longer we stare at each other. I'm now waiting with bated breath for his answer.
Yes,
he finally says.
Yes, we can move on.
The conviction in his voice is strong and comforting, and it warms my heart even as it makes my stomach flutter. Great, Taylor remarks sarcastically. You can move on out of here. He rouses and throws her a wry look before returning his attention to me.
Good night, Riley. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, I agree dreamily. Tomorrow. He smiles at me, and there is warmth in his eyes that gives me a warm glow. Taylor ruins it by making a barfing sound. Asher's eyes cut to her, and he gives her the finger. A startled laugh bursts forth from her, and he pivots and strides off down the hall. He looks just as good from behind as he does from the front, and my eyes follow his masculine form appreciatively, until Taylor yanks me into our dorm room and slams the door shut. I'm expecting her to yell at me, But she stalks to the bed that has been vacant until now and plops down on it with a dramatic sigh. She looks at me.
So that's happening.
She nods to herself.
Okay, so, pros. You've loosened the stick up his ass. You got him to stop grilling me about where I was, which would have gone on all night otherwise, or until I got him kicked out of the dorm. And he gave me the finger, she marvels. My perfect brother made a crude gesture like a real person. You're making him tolerable. She smiles. I like your influence on him. I relax, relieved to have her approval on our relationship. She throws me off, though, when she fixes a hard stare on me that's exactly like her brother's. I don't like his influence on you. You're not acting like yourself at all. Gazing at him all dreamy-eyed, blushing. You never blush. It's like you've become a different person. I am a different person, I exclaim. I don't remember the person I used to be at all, and it's starting to seem like I never will. She's instantly soothing me. You will, Riley. Just give it time. It's only been, 2 months? That's not that long. Your memory will come back. You'll see. What if it doesn't? I ask, giving voice to my biggest fear. What if I never remember who I am? She assesses me coolly, again reminding me of her brother. You can walk and talk, and you look good, she says. You don't have any broken bones or any life-threatening injuries. Things could be a lot worse, she tells me pragmatically. Who cares if you don't remember what you did in high school? You're still able to go to college and continue on with your life. That's what matters. Her pep talk works, and I feel better, until we clash about joining a sorority. You wanted to, she insists. Besides, it's the only way we'll have any freedom this year. It's our loophole for getting out of living in a dorm and following all these rules. We'll get to live in a house and have parties, and we'll get first dibs on the fraternity guys and be invited to all their parties. I make a face, feeling no enthusiasm for this plan. I don't want to live with a bunch of strangers, and I don't want to go to crowded parties with drunk people. Oh my God, she exclaims. That sounds exactly like something that Asher would say. Is he controlling your mind? No, I reply. I just feel uncomfortable around large groups of people. That's why I like living here. It's quiet and cozy and safe. Otherwise known as boring, she says. She shakes her head. You used to thrive on large crowds and attention. She runs her hand over her face and looks at me. Okay, I'm going to say this. She takes a deep breath and expels it before she speaks. You should have sex with him. She cringes. My pulse jumps as I think of Asher. Him? I question, just to be sure. My brother, she clarifies and cringes again. It's what you told me to do with Cole, she hurries on. And it worked. It took a while, she admits. But it worked. I finally got him out of my system and had enough. She pins me with a look. You've been crushing on Asher since you were 14. It's time to get him out of your system and move on. I'll make myself scarce tomorrow so you can bring him here and get it done. She winces. I don't want to know about it, but get it done and get over it. Heat flames over my face as I think about what we've already done here. Is she right? Will going all the way with Asher free me from his hold on me? I don't remember crushing on him, I argue, wanting to get her take on that. So why would I need to get him out of my system? She's quiet for a moment. Maybe there's some residual subconscious thing going on. Or what? I demand when she trails off. She gives me a rueful look. Or he might be your destiny.
She puts up her hands to stay me, although I haven't reacted to her statement. I know you don't believe in that. I don't know what I believe in, I tell her. She studies me, her look searching now. Well, she says slowly, that's something you need to find out. I'm struck by the truth of her words. I need to test things out to discover what I believe. You're a good friend, I tell her in a thoughtful tone. She snorts. Duh. I'm willing to stomach your gross obsession with my brother. I think that qualifies me for the Best Friend Hall of Fame. I chortle, but I give her a grateful look. You do, and I won't forget it. Just don't abandon me while I figure this out. You got it, she promises. And, Taylor? I begin hesitantly. Yeah? She responds. We can still be friends if we're not in everything together, right? Like if you join a sorority and I don't? Yeah, she responds without hesitation. Of course. Then she pauses before speaking. Don't you at least want to try it out? No, I answer immediately. That's just not for me. She gives me a quizzical look. How do you know? I shrug, but I'm certain when I speak. I just do. Chapter 5. Riley. I'm not so sure of myself the next day. I go to my classes and am able to lose myself in the lectures while my professors are speaking. It's the time in between my classes that has my doubt surfacing. Do I really know what I want? Was I just being reckless and impulsive yesterday? The memory of my hot encounter with Asher makes me blush, and it also makes me crave more. I worry that means the old Riley is surfacing, and I'm no longer sure that I want her back. I realize that I like myself right now, but will that still be the case if the old me returns? Did she like herself? The story Asher told me about my 14-year-old self makes me wonder. Having sex with another guy just because Asher wouldn't sleep with me wasn't a sign of self-respect. If I'd been overwhelmed with lust for the guy, that would have been different. It was a bit too young of an age to start having sex, but otherwise a girl had just as much of a right to do it as a guy did. What bothered me was that I'd done it solely in reaction to Asher's rejection of my advances. Someone with self-worth doesn't make decisions based on what other people do. They make the right choices for themselves. Granted, I had been very young and immature, but the pattern seems to have continued. According to Taylor, I only enrolled at Thackeray because Asher goes to college here. Apparently, my plan was to transfer to another university after a year, during which my goal was to finally seduce Asher. That's what Taylor told me last night. I'm appalled that I put a guy over my education, but I can't fault myself for the guy I chose. Asher is everything I could imagine wanting in a boyfriend. He's smart, attractive, and caring. Even back at the age of 16, he didn't want to take advantage of me. And yesterday, he gave me pleasure without taking his own, even though I was willing. He took me out on a date instead of having sex with me. The delay is just making me hotter for him, and that's something I obviously have in common with the old me. No wonder I wanted to seduce him so badly after years of feeling this lust for him. It's only been a day, and my body ignites when I see him approaching me in the hallway. He's so handsome with his carelessly tousled dark hair and his vivid blue eyes, not to mention his solid masculine body, which feels so firm and so good when it's pressed against mine. His gaze drinks me in before he speaks.
Do you have time now?
Yes, I answer, my mind moving ahead to us kissing and shedding our clothes behind a closed door. He takes my hand, and there is an electric charge between us that has our gazes shooting up to collide. The look in his eyes becomes heated before he turns it away from me to face forward and begin to walk. I think we're going to my dorm, but he takes me to his car. "Do you live off campus?" I ask after we are both seated.
Yes,
he replies as he presses the button to start the car.
in an apartment with a roommate.
"Do you have your own room?" I question hopefully.
Yes,
He answers.
it's a 2-bedroom.
That is a much better place to have sex than the dorm room I share with Taylor, but I still hope his roommate isn't there. We'll just have to be quiet if he is. I'm lost in erotic fantasies during the drive, and I can't wait to get inside Asher's room. I'm out the door as soon as he parks the car, but then I stop short in confusion at the sight of the house in front of me. "Where are we?" I ask as Asher comes up beside me.
Haley's house.
He replies.
I asked her and she agreed to meet you.
"Haley?" I begin, and then it falls into place. "Oh, the woman who got hurt in the accident."
Yes. Her name is Haley Thomas.
"Oh," I say.
What? Don't you want to meet her anymore?
"I do," I reply, dropping my gaze. "I just thought that we were going to your place,"
Oh.
he says. Awkwardness descends upon us, and I wish I hadn't told him that. Fortunately, there is soon a distraction as a female voice calls out, "Asher! Hey, come on in!" I look toward the house again and see a girl standing in the doorway with a smile on her face. She's younger than I expected, looking to be around our age. I wince at the sight of the cast on her arm. Asher takes my hand, and I walk with him up the rest of the driveway to the young woman. She's brunette with brown eyes and a friendly smile that doesn't dim when Asher introduces me. In fact, she tells me that it's nice to meet me and that she's glad that I'm okay. "Sorry about your arm," I say as she leads us inside. "I'm glad it's my left arm," she remarks. "I'm right-handed, so that makes it easier, especially writing. It would suck to have to take notes with my left hand." "I'm so sorry," I exclaim. "I feel terrible." She turns to me. "Thanks for apologizing. I know your dad has done a lot for me, way more than I could have expected, but it's still nice to hear an apology." "Asher said I almost killed you," I blurt anxiously. "Are you okay? What other injuries do you have? Was there anything internal?" She throws a look at Asher. "I got a broken arm."
It could have been worse,
he retorts in a stubborn tone.
You were just lucky.
I glare at him. "Seriously? You acted like I severely injured her."
You could have.
He explodes at me.
You could have left her paralyzed or dead. Do you understand that? And you could have died too. I thought you were dead when I saw all the blood. There was so much blood, and you weren't responding.
My mouth drops open. "You were there?" "He's the one who called 911 for us," Haley says. "But how were you there?" I question him.
I followed you,
he tells me. "From where?" I ask, dumbfounded.
from your house. I thought you might lead me to Taylor, but you went to a party. I went in and looked around, but I didn't see her anywhere. Then I just waited for you outside in my car, and I followed you when you left. I saw the accident happen."
He expels a heavy breath.
It was a bad fucking night.
He starts to pace around the room.
I'll wait for you outside.
He stalks off and then strides back in.
Bye, Haley. Thanks for letting me bring Riley over.
He's gone again, and I glance at Haley in dismay, feeling mortified. "I'm sorry for all this drama. I didn't expect him to—" "It's okay," she says. "I know he hates talking about the accident. He was completely wrecked." "He was?" I ask. "Yeah," she confirms. "He looked like he needed an ambulance more than I did. I was legit worried that he was going into shock, but he lost his shit when they arrived and tried to help me first. He started screaming at them to save you." "I'm sorry," I say, appalled. "No, it's okay," she assures me. "He was right.
You needed help more than I did. But
Riley, she says, leaning forward in sudden excitement. That made me believe in love again. Seeing what you guys have, seeing how much he loves you, it brought back everything my ex-boyfriend made me think was a lie. Not every guy is like him. There are guys like Asher who truly love their girlfriends. She smiles at me, and I don't have the heart to tell her that she's wrong about Asher and me, that I'm not his girlfriend, and that he certainly isn't in love with me. So, I smile back. Yeah, I'm lucky. Throwing a glance toward the door, I say, well, I better get out there before he leaves me. Oh, she exclaims. I didn't even ask you to sit down. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked with, it's okay. I cut in. I just wanted to come apologize to you. I'm really sorry about your arm. Is there anything I can do for you? Do you need help with anything? No, I have my mom to help me with anything I need at home, and your dad took care of everything else. He bought me a new car, worth way more than the one I had. I've never had a brand new car before. And he even got me a driver to take me back and forth to school until my cast comes off. Asher gets pissed off when I say this, but I'm better off now than I was before the accident. Your dad went way above and beyond. Do you know that he's paying my tuition? I'm going to be able to transfer out of community college and go to a real university next semester. That's great, I say, surprised that my cold, distant father had that much compassion for anyone. Maybe he just didn't know how to show emotion. Haley has no such problem, and she gives me a one-armed hug as we say goodbye. I leave her house feeling glad that I faced her and took responsibility for my actions, even if I don't remember them. Asher, however, is agitated as I approach him, which is why I'm not expecting him to grab me and kiss me. It's desperate and urgent, and I'm quickly swept up in it. We're both breathing heavily when he ends the kiss and presses his forehead to mine. It's such a sweet, loving gesture. He says nothing, though, and he pulls away after a moment and moves to open the car door for me. I'm so sure of what I want now, and I gather my courage as I sit down and wait for him to get in the car with me. Can we go to your apartment? I ask him. His gaze cuts to mine, sharp and knowing.
Riley,
he warns, but his hoarse voice gives him away. I want you, I tell him with absolute honesty and without the help of seduction. I wanted you yesterday, and I want you today, and I'm sure that I'll want you tomorrow and the day after that. If you think I just want a one-night stand, you're very wrong. I don't even think that the old me wanted that. I don't believe that something I've felt since I was 14 years old is temporary. He gazes into my eyes with a searching look.
I don't want to rush you.
You're not, I insist. It feels like I've known you my whole life, even though I don't remember my life. My feelings for you somehow survived when I forgot everything else. I feel you, Asher. I know it doesn't make sense, but whenever I'm around you, He cuts my words off with another urgent kiss.
I feel it too, Riley. I always have. And when I thought I lost you...
Let's not wait any longer, I plead. I don't want to wait anymore. Please, Asher. He nods, his eyes so intense when he agrees.
Okay. I don't want to wait anymore either.
He turns and presses the start button on his car in a deliberate and decisive move that sends a thrill through me. I know he's not going to change his mind now, and anticipation builds within me as he pulls out of Haley's driveway and begins driving toward our destination. We don't speak, but the air between us is filled with electric desire that conveys everything we're not saying. The sexual tension is so thick when we arrive that it overrides all my nervousness about doing this for the first time with Asher, with anyone, as far as I can remember. In this moment, I want him so much that nothing else matters. The charged atmosphere between us remains unbroken as we exit his car and walk into his apartment building. He doesn't take my hand, and I understand why. I'm barely holding back as it is, and it feels like one touch will snap my control. He must be feeling the same way, and he waits even after we enter his apartment, although there is no sign of anyone else in the place. He confirms it by saying,
"My roommate is at work. He won't be home until 9.
A thrill goes through me at the realization that we have hours here alone. I follow Asher to his room with rising excitement. He kisses me as soon as he shuts the door, and it's a hot, hungry kiss. His eyes are blue fire when he pulls back to look at me, scorching me with their intense heat. Slowly and deliberately, he begins to pull my shirt up, still looking directly into my eyes until the fabric covers them for a moment while it rises over my head. He tosses my top to the floor as his gaze travels down to my breasts, making me suddenly hyper-aware of them. They feel heavy and full under his scrutiny, and I discover how sensitive they are when he lightly traces a finger over my exposed cleavage and across the material of my bra. I suck in a breath as it brushes over my covered nipple. He does it again and begins to tease the other one with his other hand. I moan, but then start to whimper as the maddeningly light strokes leave me craving a firmer touch. Only then does he take off my bra, freeing my sensitized nipples. My anticipation for skin-on-skin contact there is so intense that it's almost painful. I gasp in shock when he suddenly bends and closes his mouth over one nipple, but that is quickly overridden by a loud, wanton moan at the incredible sensation of hot, wet heat and soft tongue. He follows that by sucking and then grazing the stiff peak with his teeth, and my legs almost give out. His head lifts and he grabs my butt and picks me up to carry me to the bed. He's on me again in a second, sucking on my neglected nipple as he places his hand under my skirt and moves it up my thigh. I moan at the first touch of his fingers between my legs. He teases me through the material of my panties, making me whimper again for more contact. Asher lifts himself from me and gets off the bed. He unzips the side zipper on my skirt and yanks the garment down my legs and throws it on the floor. I'm expecting him to rip my panties off when he grabs the waistband with both hands, but he pauses to capture my gaze and then slides them slowly down while giving me a scorching, heated look. I feel my undies move past my feet, and I know that I'm completely naked now. My body goes sweltering hot as Asher drops my underwear and lets his eyes travel down my bared flesh. He lingers on my breasts before fixing his gaze between my legs. I suck in a breath as he reaches down to touch me there. His finger is firm this time, and it presses into my folds.
"You're so wet for me,"
he says in a roughened voice that increases my arousal.
"Do you want me, Riley?"
"Yes," I answer.
"What do you want?"
he demands as he strokes me. "You," I tell him. "I want you, Asher. Please," I plead. "Take off your clothes." His eyes meet mine as he brings his finger to his mouth and sucks on it. My stomach bottoms out, but then careens and dips again when he pulls off his shirt. My mouth waters at the sight of his chest and abs, but it goes dry as his hands unbutton his fly and pull down the zipper on his jeans. He pushes them down with his underwear, and his erection springs free. I stare at it, trying to imagine how it will feel inside of me.
"You want it?"
he asks in that rough, low voice. "Yes," I say breathlessly, even though I'm feeling unsure now. He kicks his feet out of his bunched jeans and walks naked to his nightstand to take out a condom. I watch him put it on and brace myself for the intrusion of his penis into my vagina. He climbs back onto the bed and over me, looking into my eyes as he positions himself.
"Hey,"
he says.
"What's wrong?"
"Nothing," I reply and force a smile. He starts to lift himself off me, but I grab his sides to stop him.
You're not ready,
he protests. I am, I insist. I want you. I'm just a little nervous. I look down at his chest in embarrassment and admit, I'm kind of scared it will hurt. I know that's silly because it's not really my first time, but it feels like it is. And you seem kind of big. His abrupt laugh has me looking at him. He shakes his head.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. It's just, I'm not that big. But thank you for the compliment.
He adds with a smirk. I roll my eyes. Don't get a big head.
Apparently I already have one,
he retorts and grins. I punch his arm, and he pretends to fall on me. I make a little sound of satisfaction, though, at the feel of his skin on mine.
You like that?
He asks, his voice seductive. Yeah, you feel good. I reply, running my hands over his back. He kisses my neck, giving me tingles. He moves down the bed as his mouth descends to my breasts again to stoke my desire once more. I'm panting and so ready for him by the time his tongue licks over my stomach. Now, I gasp. Do it now. Instead of joining our bodies, he kneels down at the foot of the bed and pulls me down to the edge to feast on me. I buck at the overwhelming, unfamiliar sensation, but he holds me down. Asher! I screech, grabbing frantically at the sheets. He's relentless, and my head falls back as pleasure overtakes me. I'm soon moaning as my climax begins to build. Yes, I chant in a mindless litany. Yes! Oh, yes! Then I'm screaming his name as my orgasm hits me hard. Before I know what's happening, Asher is thrusting inside me, and it doesn't hurt at all. In fact, it feels great, and I smile at him in bliss.
Okay?
He asks. Yes, I love it. Amusement twinkles in his eyes, and he starts to smile, but it turns into a groan.
Fuck, you feel good.
He feels amazing. What I worried would be an intrusion into my body is an incredible connection that makes me feel closer to him than I ever could have imagined. Warmth spreads through my chest as I watch him. For a while, it's more powerful than what's happening below my waist. Then I get caught up in the primal urge of another approaching orgasm. Give it to me, I demand. Oh, yes, give it to me.
Oh yeah, come for me,
he urges. Asher! I cry out as I climax.
Fuck, yes! Oh fuck, Riley, I can feel you.
He moans and then stills before thrusting a few more times and collapsing. He quickly rolls off me and lays down beside me, breathing heavily. After a moment, he gets up and walks naked out of the room. I watch his butt in sated satisfaction until it disappears from view. He's back quickly after apparently disposing of the condom, and he lays down on the bed again. This time he turns sideways and gathers me into his arms. Wow, that was the best thing ever, I tell him. He laughs.
You're really good for my ego.
I'm serious, I say. I can't believe how great it was. He hugs me tighter.
I can't believe you're finally mine.
I pull back and look at him. I'm so glad you said that, because that's exactly what I wanted to say, but I thought you might think it's too soon.
No,
he tells me, his gaze intensifying.
It's not too soon for me at all. I've wanted this for a long time.
I smile happily at him. Good, because I want to be with you. He smiles back, looking just as happy as I feel. We laze around cuddling for a while until Asher's hands start wandering, igniting my desire again. I urge him to put on another condom before I straddle him, eager to have him inside me again. He gazes at me in wonder as I start to ride him.
You're so beautiful,
he tells me. I lean down to kiss him. You're beautiful too. I'm talking about more than how he looks, but I can't put that into words yet. So, I let my eyes convey what I feel for him before I'm lost in the throes of passion yet again. Chapter 6. Riley. Taylor knows what happened between us as soon as she sees us.
Thank God you didn't do it here, or I'd have to move out.
She points her finger at Asher.
Always take her to your place.
He tries to scowl at her but can't quite manage it.
Oh my God, she exclaims. Look how happy you are. It's not normal.
He rolls his eyes at her.
Shut up.
It's said in a mild tone, but then he shocks her by saying in a heartfelt manner,
I'm glad you're back.
She stares at him while he turns his attention to me.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree, my stomach already fluttering with anticipation. He takes a step back, his gaze lingering on me before remembering his sister again.
Well, good night.
Good night, we both tell him. He leaves, and Taylor shakes her head and sighs.
We're never getting to New York now.
Of all the things I expected her to say, that wasn't on the list. Huh? Her sigh is heavier this time.
You don't even remember wanting to go anywhere else, so you won't even miss the idea of it. You'll just stay here with Asher.
Everything in me wants that. The thought of leaving him isn't appealing at all. I like going to the same school and being able to see him every day. I like Taylor too, but I don't want to hold her back if she wants to go somewhere else. Is New York where you want to go?
I don't know,
she says, and I can hear the frustration in her voice.
I thought I did, but now I kind of like it here. But it's so close to home. You always said that we were going to miss out if we didn't get away and do something new and different.
I'm the one sighing now. I don't know what to tell you. Everything is new to me, so I'm not looking for anything different. I don't want you to feel like you have to stay here because of me. But I'm hoping you will, since you said you like it here. A smile burst forth on her face.
You want me to stay?
Of course, I reply. You're my best friend. Actually, after meeting all my other supposed friends, I can say that you're my only friend. Her expression falls.
So, it's just because we were best friends before? But you don't remember any of that?
No, I tell her. That's not the only reason. Like I said, those other people claimed to be my friends, but I didn't want to keep them. You're the only one I wanted to stay friends with, because I like you. You're nice, and I feel comfortable talking to you, and I shrug. I just like you. She smiles again.
I like you too. Even though you're so different now, I still feel that connection with you, that friendship bond. Okay, I was kind of freaked out yesterday, she admits. But it's kind of nice to just be able to chill with you and not have to be with a bunch of other people. It's like when we were kids, when it was just you and me, before we started going to parties and having to act cool.
I go and sit down on my bed before I speak. Why didn't you tell me that you didn't like going to parties? She comes and sits down on her bed across from me.
I like going to parties. Sometimes. It's just that we had to go to all of them.
Why didn't you tell me when you didn't want to go? I question.
Because I didn't want you to think I was boring, she exclaims. And I was worried that you'd drive home drunk and get in an accident if I wasn't there, which is what happened before, she mutters.
Is that why you forgave me for kissing your boyfriend? I ask. Her gaze snaps to mine, and it's as piercing as her brother's.
You remember that?
I shake my head. Asher told me. My eyes drop to my lap. How could you still like me after that? She sighs and admits.
It wasn't easy to see that. I really thought he would resist you, but he did exactly what you said he would.
He acted like he liked me so much, but he tried to have sex with you as soon as he got the chance. It hurt. Even seeing you slap him and tell him off didn't help. I couldn't handle it, and I took off and left you. I'm so sorry, Riley. I gape at her. You're apologizing to me? I'm the one who kissed your boyfriend. To keep me from sleeping with him, she explains, like it's a reasonable thing to do. I was so sure about wanting him to be my first, and I wouldn't listen to you when you told me he only wanted to hook up with me. I thought he liked me as much as I liked him, so I went along with your plan to hide and watch you try to kiss him. I thought he wouldn't do it, but he even tried to have sex with you. She shakes her head. I can't believe I almost let him use me like that. I'm so glad you stopped me. She sighs deeply and gives me a remorseful look. You did that for me, but I just left you there by yourself. You probably drank so much because you were upset. When I found out that you wrecked your car, I realized that I almost lost you over a stupid guy. You're the nicest person in the world, I marvel. That was such a shitty thing for me to do. I put up a hand to stop her protest. I don't care what my intentions were. A real friend doesn't kiss her best friend's boyfriend. And I had no excuse to drive drunk, no matter how upset I was. It was my fault I wrecked my car, and this recent accident was my fault too. You don't know that, she begins. It was, I insist. Asher told me. She rolls her eyes. He always thinks the worst of us. Don't listen to what he says. I think he's right, though. At least about me. I don't think I was a very good person. Why? She demands. Because you like to have fun? That's bullshit. He was there. I cut in. He saw the accident happen, and it was my fault. That girl has a broken arm because of me, but it could have been much worse. I tell her about meeting Haley and everything she and Asher said. When I'm done, Taylor expels a long sigh. So, you're really going to date my brother? I look at her warily. Are you going to be upset if I do? No, she replies. I kind of always knew you'd end up with him, but I was hoping you'd marry a prince. That pulls a bewildered laugh out of me. What? Yeah, she says. I knew if anyone could make a prince fall in love with her, it would be you. Then he'd ask you to marry him, and I'd get to go to a royal wedding and visit you in your castle, and it would be the best thing ever. I laugh. Where would I meet a prince? At some gala somewhere, of course. She answers like it's the most obvious thing in the world. You'd be wearing some fabulous ball gown, and he'd see you, and it would be love at first sight. Real love, she clarifies. Not like with me and Cole, which I now know was lust at first sight. This worries me. How do you know the difference? Time, she answers decisively, making it obvious that she's given it a lot of thought and come to a firm conclusion. The only way to know for sure if it's real is time. But it doesn't take much time for me to fall in love with Asher. It doesn't worry me, though, because he shows no signs of losing interest in me. Taylor was right about him being happy, because he smiles often whenever we're together. I'm very happy, too, especially when he says the words I've been longing to hear 2 months later. I love you. I look up from my textbook and blink at him. He's seated across from me at his kitchen table, where we've been doing our homework for the past half hour. His blue eyes are fixed on me with that intensity I love, because he always means business when he gives me that look. It's sexy, whether we end up getting naked or not. Usually we do. I love you, he says again, confirming that I heard what I thought I did. I don't have to ask if he means it, because his intense stare conveys that he does. With a squeal of happiness, I jump out of my chair and run to hug him. I love you too. Then we kiss. Then we abandon our homework and go to his room and get naked. Epilogue. Riley. My first memory of Asher is of a gorgeous guy with electric blue eyes scowling at me. 5 years later, he's still gorgeous, and his blue eyes are still electric with that intensity fixed on me. But he's not scowling. His lips are parted, and he's staring at me. I'm equally struck by the sight of him in his tuxedo, and I can hardly believe he's standing there, waiting to marry me. He's almost too beautiful to be real, and I feel like I must be dreaming. Then he smiles, and he's my Asher. I've seen that smile so many times, and I've kissed that beautiful mouth. That handsome man has laughed with me, loved me, argued with me, studied with me, ate and drank with me, had all kinds of conversations with me, and planned his future with me. I don't remember the first time I met him when we were children. I can't recall when my initial feelings for him developed or my volatile teenage emotions. All those memories are lost to me, but I don't miss them. I have all my best memories of him. Our first kiss, the first time he touched me, our first time together naked, the first time he told me he loved me, the day he proposed, and now, our wedding day. Joy fills my heart and shows on my face as I walk toward the man I love and return his smile. He is my past, my present, and my future, and I look forward to every minute with him. Other people are here, my parents. I'm walking down the aisle on my father's arm right now, although it's only for tradition. We haven't gotten close in the years since my accident erased my memory, but it doesn't seem like we ever were. My mother is seated in front of the pew on one side of the church, and Asher's parents are on the other. The marriage of their children has not brought them together, but they are forced to tolerate each other today. My friendship with Taylor is solid, and she is my maid of honor. The rest of my bridesmaids are friends I've made at Thackeray during our 4 years there. Asher's guy friends that I met during our first date are here too, except for the jerk who propositioned me, but he was never Asher's friend. We reach the altar, and my father stiffly hands me off to Asher. In that moment, our new life together begins. We gaze at each other for a moment, our eyes conveying all the shared memories that have led us here, and then we turn to face our future, standing side by side. The end. This has been Change of Heart, an enemies to lovers love at first kiss college romance. Written by Susanna Thompson, Love at First Kiss. Narrated by Alyssa Avery. Copyright 2021 by Susanna Thompson. Production copyright by Susanna Thompson.